Hi everyone, this is Chelsea, and this video is going to walk you through how to add and subtract fractions. Now, if you haven't already, I would recommend that you watch the video for reducing fractions first, because we're going to do a little bit of reducing fractions in this video. So that you're prepared, I would watch the reducing fractions one and then go on to this video here. Okay, so this is going to be in two parts. I'm going to start off with adding fractions. I'm going to go through a few examples with you. And then after that, I'm also going to do a few examples of subtracting fractions, but they're both very similar processes. All right, so hopefully the examples that we do together today will make you feel more confident when you are doing the numeracy worksheets that I have emailed you. All right, so first let's get into adding fractions. So you might remember from class that we were talking about the difference between like versus unlike fractions. So that's really important when we're adding and subtracting with fractions, because whenever we are doing any work with fractions, they always have to be like in order for us to add or subtract. And so remember what that means is the bottom numbers need to be the same. So that would make fractions like. Unlike fractions would be ones like these ones down here that have different numbers on the bottom. So these ones require the fewest steps because you don't need to change anything about these fractions to be able to do the math. So I'll show you an example of like fractions, adding. First we have 1/5 plus 2/5. All right, so in this case, bottom numbers are the same. So all we have to do is carry over the bottom number. It's going to stay the same. It's just going to be 5. And then from there, all we have to do is add the top numbers together. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. All right, so now my fraction is 3/5, 3 over 5. And so my final step would be to just take a look at this fraction and think, can it be reduced? Is there a number that divides evenly into both 3 and 5? And the answer is no. There is no number that can go evenly into both of these numbers. So that means that this is my final answer. Okay, so that's like fractions. Now I'll show you a couple examples of what you would do with unlike fractions. So fractions that have different bottom numbers. There's just an extra step because you have to change whichever fraction has the lower number on the bottom. So for example, here we have 1/2 plus 3/16. All right, so I'm looking at that smaller bottom number, which is the 2 here, and I need to think to myself, how do I turn this 2 into a 16? And the way that we do that is multiplication, or times. So that means that we need to multiply the smaller number by something to make it equal the bigger number. So 2 times what is going to give me 16? You can check on your calculator if you need. 2 times 8 is going to give me 16. And so then that means that because I'm doing this to the bottom number, I also have to do the exact same thing on the top. So I'm going to do 1 times 8. Okay, now just so that we don't get confused, what I like to do is I like to rewrite these fractions underneath as my new question. So I'm going to write 1 times 8 equals 8, so that's going to be my new top number here. 2 times 8 equals 16. Plus, and then I'm just going to rewrite this fraction the way it is because nothing needs to change about this fraction. So I'm just going to rewrite it here so that I don't get mixed up. Okay, there we go. So this is my new question now. 8/16 plus 3/16. Now these numbers can be added. So equals, the number on the bottom is going to stay the same, 16. And now I just add the numbers on the top. So 8 plus 3, that's going to give me 11. All right, there you go. And then I look at that fraction. Can this be reduced? No, 11 over 16 can't be reduced. And you might remember that if you watched the measuring in inches video. We went over fractions of an inch out of 16. And so you'll know that anytime 16 has an odd number on the top, it can't be reduced. So it's the same thing here. So that's our final answer. Okay, now I'm just going to do one last example for adding fractions. And so here the last example is 1/4 plus 4/8. All right, so again, we need to find the smaller number on the bottom, which is the 4. And we need to think 4 times what is going to give us 8? 4 times 2. So I'm going to write 2. Then I'm also going to do the same thing on the top. So 1 times 2 as well. And remember, I don't do anything to this second fraction because it doesn't need to change. It's already over the bigger number. So now I'm going to rewrite underneath. 1 times 2 equals 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. Plus, and then I'm just going to bring down this fraction. 4 over 8 equals. Okay, now again, carry my 8 through. 2 plus 4 equals 6. But I'm not done there, right? Because I'm looking at my new fraction and I'm realizing, oh, this can be reduced. It's 2 even numbers, so it can definitely be reduced because even numbers can always be divided by 2. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to divide by 2 so that I can reduce. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And so now my new fraction is 3 over 4, 3/4 or 3/4. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, can I reduce more? No, I can't because there's no number that goes into both 3 and 4. So that would mean that I'm done here. All right, so that's adding fractions. Now let's just take a look at a few examples with subtracting fractions, although the process is exactly the same, but we're just going to remember to subtract instead of add. So again, here we're starting off with a couple like fractions. They have the same number on the bottom. And so that means that I'm not really going to have too many steps here. Right, so I have 3/4 minus 1/4. 4 stays the same. And then I just do subtraction on the top numbers. So 3 minus 1 is 2. Great. Now again, I'm looking at that and I think, am I done? Can I reduce? Yes, I can reduce because there is a number that divides evenly into both of these numbers. And it's 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. Divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then that's my final answer, 1/2, because I can't reduce anymore. All right, let's do a couple more. So now we have 7/8 minus 3/16. So again, here we have an unlike fraction. So that means that we need to turn this smaller number into this bigger number. We're going to use multiplication again. So 8 times 2 is going to give us 16. And so we'll do times 2 on the top here as well. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did for addition. I'm going to write my new fraction underneath. 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 2 is 16. Minus, and then I'm going to carry this one down, 3/16 equals. All right, now I carry my 16 through. And now I just have to do 14 minus 3. So 14 minus 3 is 11. And that's the same fraction that we got for one of our addition questions. And so we already know that no, we don't have to reduce this. This can't be reduced. All right, so let's just try out one more example here. And so then this example is 3/4 minus 1/8. All right, so we're going to just continue with the same process. we're going to find the smaller number. It's in the first fraction again. And by the way, the smaller number at the bottom isn't always in the first fraction. Sometimes it can be over here instead. It's the same thing though. You're just going to find whichever fraction has the lower number. It just so happens that on these examples, it was all the first fraction. So it's here, 4 is lower. And so I'm going to multiply it. And again, I'm going to multiply by 2 because 4 times 2 is going to equal 8, which means I'm going to do times 2 on the top as well. So now down here, 3 times 2 equals 6. 4 times 2 equals 8, minus the same fraction as on top here, 1 over 8, equals 8 minus 8. Or sorry, don't do 8 minus 8. Carry the 8 through, right? That one doesn't get minus, it stays the same. Just 8, there we go. But you are going to do 6 minus 1. And 6 minus 1 equals 5. There we go. And then that's it. You're all done because then you look at this. Can it be reduced? Nope, that can't be reduced. So that means that we are all done with that question. All right. So I hope that that helps you to be able to do your numeracy worksheets. Just remember that it's the same process of finding the lower number on the bottom, multiplying it by a number so that it is equal to the bigger number. And it's not always times 2, right? Sometimes, you have to multiply, let's say 2 times 8 or something like that to get 16, let's say, for example. So it's not always times 2, but multiply it, rewrite your question underneath, carry the bottom number through, and then you're either adding or subtracting the top numbers based on whatever the question is asking you to do. All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Good luck with your worksheets, and please make sure to email me if you have any questions. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Awesome. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.